everybody out there? This is Dennis from GJ's Classic Garage. A little different video this week. I watched a Kiwi's Classic and Custom where this poor person got utterly ripped off on a 67 Mustang convertible. And it really made me think about the way people buy cars or look at classic cars. And it's usually never out of necessity or deep thought. It's always impulse or passion. So I have 7 tips and a few bonuses at the end for you to get your first classic car, or maybe if you're going to buy another car and you haven't bought one in a long time. So the number one thing, know what you want and make sure it fits your lifestyle. If you have a family of 4 and the kids like going with you to car shows, and even the wife or the husband want to come to the car shows, a 2-door car or a pickup truck does not work. So you need to make sure you get a car that meets your social, obligations. And the second part is your driving style. You may not think about this, but if you're a type of person that's very cautious and don't accelerate very hard from lights, don't accelerate very hard to get on the highway, you brake very easy all the time, unless you have an inner demon inside of you, you probably don't want to go out and get that 600 horsepower muscle car. You're never going to use any of the power. You're also not going to keep it up because a car like that needs to be run hard. They're usually jetted in a way that use a lot more fuel, and if you don't run them hard, they load up. They can load up inside the intake manifold, inside the carburetor, and on top of the pistons. You'll have carbon everywhere. It'll be hard to keep in tune. And you just spent more money than you need to because a high-performance motor costs a lot more than just a regular driving to a cruise-in motor. There's a huge difference between the two. And it also brings me to the other part. If you're not going to go drag racing, even if you are a type of person that likes to really get on it, but if you're not going to go drag racing, you don't need a drag racing setup to drive down to the Biff Burger. That's just not practical. It's also going to become a pain, and it's just not going to become something that you're enjoying, especially if you live someplace like I do in Florida and you can't have a car with air conditioning. No. All my cars have air conditioning. Every last one of them have air conditioning because it's hot and I want to enjoy my car. Even in the fall it's warm. I want to enjoy my drive. Last part on the know what you want, your storage. If you have a tiny 1-car garage, you probably can't get a full-size muscle car or a full-size a luxury car. You're probably going to be stuck to something of the smaller size unless you found storage elsewhere. But even then, putting in a storage unit is not good. You really need to be able to have the car housed near you or someplace where they do concierge for you, because you will begin resenting having to go get your car. So that's number 1. Number 2, when you're looking for a car, set a price cap. And I really mean this. How much you're willing to spend of your money. And for God's sake, do not get a loan to buy a car. That is just not smart. You're going to pay higher interest than on a new car, like now it would probably be 8 to 10%, on something that is not an investment. It is an expense. It costs money to maintain a car. And to that point, set aside 10% of that purchase price for maintenance on that car. Because no matter how nice the car is when you buy it, there will be issues because it is an old car. Carburetor may need to be rebuilt. Fuel pump may go bad. Air conditioning may need to be recharged. It may need new valve springs because they give up. You may need new gaskets. There's just a lot. Battery, differential fluid, there's a list of things that you have to do on a classic car because it is a classic car. No matter how well it's done, it will need maintenance, especially if you actually use it, which you should. Third, join a local group that is into the cars that you want. And this is very poignant because now you can find out from them if a car you want is for sale, or where the weak spots are in the cars that you're looking for, or how to best maintain them, what is the best year to get. These are very good things you can only get from personal interaction between people. Facebook is nice, but it really isn't personal interaction. I've noticed a lot more drama or just silliness. This is, you need to really have a physical bond with people. It's scary, I know, but this is kind of important for the car hobby. And with that, you then become a subject matter expert. You become an expert on the vehicle that you want. That's number 4. So, what do I mean by that? Well, you need to know how to decipher the VIN, and VINs were put in the windshields first in 1969. Before 69, they're usually inside the door, or in General Motors, I think they're inside the engine compartment. But you have to know how to decipher what that VIN is, the car line, what engine it's supposed to have, what plant it was built at. It's important sometimes. The sequence number, how old or new in the year, because sometimes you have mid-year changes. My Charger was a late 72. It actually has things that are completely different from an early 72. And if you don't know that, well, you may have problems if you need to buy parts for it, because there's a big difference. The other thing I'm talking about, subject matter, just kind of interluding in the middle of the video, just to make, if you're getting something out of this, please at least hit the like. It lets me know if I'm doing something right, and if you subscribe, that's even better, because then I can continue to make, great content for the average car guy. It's a win-win for everybody. All right, back to the video. It's right down in here. Get my light. This over here is the fender tag. On Chryslers, it's very important. It basically tells most of the options about the car. And then I think I'll put it up in the corner. It's gonna be up in the corner right over there. I'll show you what it looks like. But this thing will tell you everything about the car, or most of the stuff about the car. It'll tell you what color it's supposed to be, what color the interior is supposed to be, what engine's supposed to be in there, when it was made, and then whatever Highline options are on it, because it will be listed there. There's also another part to a Chrysler. It's called the build sheet. This actually has every bit of detail from the car, and I'll put that right over there also. It literally tells you the part numbers for every part that is major on the car, like all the suspension pieces, the rims, the radiator, the fan. It goes on and on what it actually tells. It is very, very important. And a car like that has detail like mine does is far more valuable than a car that has no paperwork, as they say. And honestly, I would never pay, if you had two Roadrunners, I know cars I know, two Roadrunners, 69 Roadrunners. One has a fender tag and a build sheet and, everything. It still has a 383 in it, and actually the 383 is, even if it's not the VIN matched one, it's from the right year, because a lot of those motors got blown up and they had warranty blocks in them. Okay, compared to a Roadrunner that's missing a fender tag, no build sheet, just has a VIN. Somebody put a full 40 in it. Honestly, I would pay more Even with poor paint, I would pay more for the Roadrunner that has the documentation than without. And you should really think that way too, because if you can't prove what it really is, then what it really is it? That's just me. I don't know. I'm kind of like a purist like that, because cars can only be that way once, and there should be some value put on that. I did not have to become a subject matter before I got this car, even though I kind of did. This was my high school car. My family had bought it. But this wonderful BMW over here, well, I bought this car, and I became a subject matter expert in this car. It's 1989, it's an E30. That's the designation of it. And I looked long and hard, and I found somebody that didn't really know anything about them. So I was able to check everything on the car and really go into detail and be able to get a very good deal on the car, because I knew a hell of a lot more than the person I was buying it from. It's a coupe. It's in Cirrus blue. It has a 5-speed in it. It has cloth seats. It was still had the original suspension and rims and tires on it. I mean, the car was a time capsule and it was unmolested. And it just made it so much easier to buy and be able to modify to my taste, but also to make it, more, it was more authentic, and I knew what I was starting with. Next, shop private. That's step 5. Do not go to one of these retail places. Please do not go there. I beg of you. Those consignment places are where basically the quick and easy flipper cars get put, and it looks like the paint is not even dry by the time it touches the floor. And it's not the place's fault, but they are a conduit to that type of sale. I've walked into places and I've seen cars that you can tell were painted over a weekend in a garage, retail red. And no, just no. Those places also try to get you to finance. The prices are usually a little bit inflated. Honestly, and the other part of that is always touch the car you want to buy. Drive it. Make sure it's cold when you first see it. You do your physical inspection with your knowledge now, and make sure everything looks good. Make sure the maintenance stuff is good on it. Make sure stuff matches, because this is your initial inspection on the car. But do it in person. This person on Kiwi's Classic and Customs literally bought the car over the internet and never had it inspected, never touched it physically, never drove it. You can't do that. You must drive the car. You must touch the car. That's why it's so dangerous to buy cars at auction, because a lot of times they're not what they seem they are. Private is always going to be the best way, as long as you're allowed. And if you're not allowed, run away. To actually check the car out. Then, step 6, have an expert check it out. Now, my thing with the expert is first, go to a body guy. Find a body guy, because with your group you'll find one that's good and knows those cars. Bring it to him or her. There are girls that do it too. And they will go and they will know where cars are weak, or where they've been repaired, or what has not been repaired well. So they will check, like on my car, the fenders go bad, the corner panels go bad, the roof goes bad in the back. Inside the inner fenders here, rot, and also the frame rails. They'll know that. They can look at a car and tell how much, they can look at a car and see if there's been a lot of filler put in it, because certain things just don't show up right. They'll go over the car with a magnet and see how much plastic, because magnet doesn't stick to Bondo. They will check for straightness, they'll check paint thickness, they'll just check the quality of the painting on the car. And that's very important. Then you bring it to a mechanic and have it mechanically checked out. And make sure that the engine's not going to blow up, that the transmission is good, that the rear end looks good, that structurally the drivetrain and the suspension are fine. These are very important things, but the body's more important because it's a hell of a lot more expensive to get body work done than to to put a new motor into a car. Put a new motor into a car is quite easy compared to stripping and repainting a car. 7, and this is the hardest one. Don't be afraid to walk away. If there's anything during that process that comes up where it's just a big deal, no matter how much in love you are with the car, or if the price is just too high for your budget and it's above where the average price has been for those cars, don't be afraid to just walk away. Don't let pride get in there, that you buy it just out of spite or pride, or don't go there, start insulting people and trying to beat them down. No, walk away. One of two things will happen. You'll find something else, or that car will come back to market, or he'll call you, or she'll call you, and maybe you can make a better deal. Because that's what I did with this BMW. I literally just walked away. I gave a number that was about what everybody was going for because the car needed a lot. And I'm like, yeah, no. I got my car, started driving off, and he chased me. I came back and wrote a check and drove the car home. That's just the way you need to operate. You can't be afraid to lose it, because if it isn't right, don't. You'll be very unsatisfied with that car. Okay, bonus time. So, if you're going to buy a project, and some people do, they buy project cars. If you buy a project and it needs body work, or you think you're going to get a car that needs body work, because that's usually what happens, find a body shop that, through your group of friends, that's good on those cars, and they're trustworthy and have done good work, and get all the information about, what their hourly rate is, what supplies they use, how they paint, how long it will take them to do that. Will they do it when they can, or is it going to be the primary work for it? You need to know these things before you bring a car to somebody. It's really important. And you have to make sure that the shop is trustworthy, because I've known people that have had 2 shops on the same car. Just locked the doors, and they had to go in and basically steal the car out of the shop. So if you're going to have that type of stuff done, get that set straight. And same thing with engine work, machinist. You need to know ahead of time, because like I live outside of Tampa. for Mopars, it's really a very thin scene to get people that work on Mopars. There's only a few people that do it, and they have a 6-month waiting time. So you could buy a car that needs engine work, unless you're going to buy a crate. That's a whole other story. That it can take 6 months to get that done. So do this stuff ahead of time. And also, with the car you are wanting, go online, look up all the suppliers, all the reproduction stuff, all the aftermarket stuff, all, the original manufacturer. Do they make anything for this car anymore? How hard is it to get pieces for this car? Because that is something you really should know. Because on my Charger, anything mechanical is pretty easy. All right, it's pretty standardized. Body panels, different story. I can't get flat hoods, I can't get fenders, I can't get trunk lids. Trunk lids. I had to have the interior custom made. But for the most part, oh yeah, and the hidden headlight grille and the electric motor with it, yeah, that's a whole thing. But for mechanical stuff, I can go to Napa or O'Reilly or AutoZone or Advance. I can even go online to any of the online places, and I can get pieces for this car. Get them on eBay, whatever. And so I know I can keep the car running and doing well. Same thing with this BMW. Actually, BMWs are even easier. I can buy all the body panels for this car. It's crazy. I can buy all the fuel lines from like OEM fuel lines. Engine work easy on this car. Everything aftermarket, it's supported. This was an easy car to buy because I knew that there was such a big following for the car. It made it very easy to get stuff for the car. Finally, the big one, the big I, insurance. Insurance on your classic car is incredibly important because it is treated differently than an everyday car. How do I mean? Well, they know that they have real value and they don't depreciate. They don't. There's no depreciation on them because they're old and they don't make them anymore. So they'll fix things that normal companies wouldn't fix. You know, they will do things that normal companies won't do. Like all of them offer towing now, and you could even up the flavor and have towing for long distance. And I would suggest that you have your classic car insurance and AAA towing, because you just never ever know. And but the thing is, the classic car insurance always a flatbed, and that's, you never want to tug behind. You want to have a flatbed. There are certain companies. There's Haggerty, Grundy, J.C. Taylor, which is Foremost, which is what I have, and Condon Scully. Skelly. Those are the big ones. I've had J.C. Taylor now since the early 90s, and they've been fine. Your premium is basically set on the value of the car, and a lot of them just do agreed values unless you have unless it's been appraised. Then you can use the appraisal value, which I wouldn't really recommend, but they're usually very good about negotiating if something terrible happens. But make sure you set your car at a good price. It's going to cost money, but you need to be able to think about, can I replace this car for that money they're giving me back? Because that's the end game. Because it isn't just about putting money in your pocket. It's about, if something bad happens to your car, I need to get another one just like it. So that's very important. And I'm going to put a link to an article about all the classic car insurances below, because it's very important to know what you're looking for and how to set it up. A little technical difficulty, as I was going to tell you about getting insurance figures. So it's actually very easy. All the insurance companies, you can go online and get quotes. They just need pictures of your car, mileage, and where you're storing it. Insure it for enough value, and make sure that you're very honest with them, because they can check to see if your car is actually garaged. If something happens, you have to try to explain why, or why you're using it to go to work. These are things that the two things. It has to be in a garage, and it can't be for everyday use. It has to just be for pleasure use. So that's pretty much, the skinny on getting a classic car and not getting, ripped off, and actually getting a good deal and something you'll enjoy for years to come. Thank you for watching. Once again, please like and subscribe if you got something out of this, just like you would do to somebody else's YouTube video that you've enjoyed. And as always, remember to take your classic car out, because you make something. Let's try that again. As always, remember to take your classic car out, because you may make someone's day, maybe even your own. Catch you down the road.